Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on location here in the South Bronx. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. We're diving into the issue of food insecurity that affects tens of thousands of residents here every single day. Many are working and doing their best, but their income just can't keep up with the rising food prices. Now, local community groups and local leaders are stepping up their efforts to fill the gap.
I lost my job. And HRA wasn't giving me enough food stamps, so sometimes at the end of the month I wouldn't have enough.
Food carts are chained to a fence to hold the patrons' places at a pop-up food pantry, a sign of the times. Sadly, it's no exaggeration to say that many of the 1.5 million residents of the Bronx face a daily food crisis. The New York State Health Department reports that about 39%, or 4 out of 10 residents, are food insecure, a polite way to explain a disturbing reality in the richest nation on earth, that many never know for sure when and what they'll be able to eat. In the South Bronx, the number of children and adults going hungry is even higher.
When you look at the lines don't seem to get any smaller. When you look at the amount of time that my constituents are waiting online to pick up food from these food pantries, it's endless. Regardless of the weather, they're there with their carts.
As we walk along Southern Boulevard, where City Council member Rafael Salamanca grew up, he tells us why he fights so fiercely to fund programs that provide direct, immediate help to his community. He explains that the devastating impact of higher food prices, rising rents, and lower wages is forcing many Bronx residents to stand on lines to get donated food for the first time in their lives. At one of the New York Common Pantry locations, manager Omar Alvarez gives out many basic food items, including produce, considered a luxury, and shelf-stable milk, because some of the people have no refrigerators. He tells us the need has never been greater.
We've been breaking records here at our location weekly, where we used to service roughly around 200 families. We're now servicing on one single day, we're serving close to 400, if not above 400 families.
One of the programs that's having a big impact here is the Urban Health Plan. They offer a variety of services to meet neighborhood needs, including food insecurity. At this healthcare and wellness clinic, head pediatrician Dr. Aklima Mohammed says childhood malnutrition is such a big concern, kids are automatically screened for it. If they need food, the staff has pre-packed bags ready to give them. How do you see food insecurity manifest with the kids that come for your care?
Parents do not like to say that they don't have any food in the house, so you really have to ask that question clearly.
Dr. Aklima Mohammed tells me it can manifest as irritability, behavior problems in school, greater susceptibility to the flu and other viruses, and even permanent damage into adulthood.
The brain is arrested in growth from an early age if the children aren't being fed well.
We're outside on one of the coldest days of the winter. It's also Thursday, a special day at Pastor John Uduokan's Word of Life International Church food pantry. The line stretches around the block.
Today is mainly for seniors, people 55 and above, and vets, and people with physical disability.
The food offerings are laid out warehouse style in front of the church. People can take whatever they need. Church volunteers help them with their selections. You have a lot of food, so do people come and they pick up the bags of food, or how does this work here?
Yes, we don't give people what they do not want. So as they're passing through, if they want apple, we give them apple. If they want onions, we give them onions, potatoes, watermelon. Also these products here, whatever they want, we give it to them.
It's very much needed, especially in this community over here. Prices is ridiculous now.
We take it back to City Council member Salamanca's office, where he takes us deep into the issue. Rafael, in terms of the food and hunger crisis here in the Bronx, how bad is it right now in 2025?
It's as bad as it's been. When you walk around and you visit your food pantries and you speak to the staff, there's a big need.
And then here in the Bronx, and especially in your district, one of the poorest districts, congressional districts in the United States, one of the highest rate of food insecurity in the city. Why is that?
I represent an extremely low-income community. where families are dependent on SNAP program. And many families have to choose whether they're going to eat healthy and not have enough money to feed their families that entire month, or eat unhealthy when they go to the supermarket and ensure that their SNAP benefits extend for the entire month so that they can feed their families. So what my office has done in city government is that we've used the power of the budget and we've allocated funding to non-for-profits that provide food pantries so that we can give our Bronxites healthier food options.
Since COVID, the rise of food prices, the inflation has been crazy.
The prices of bread, milk, fresh produce, and you compound that with your living expenses.
Right.
It's difficult for a working family. I can imagine how more difficult it is for a low-income family that is struggling to survive. And so we need to do better. And we need to come up with creative ways, out of the box thinking ways as to how we can help these families in need and how do we fill that gap.
And when you see the level of suffering with the families, especially with the small kids, how do you feel when you see that?
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but also it gives me a sense of energy knowing that I'm in a position of power right now in city government where I can bring change. And that is why in my time in office, I've been able to bring over $4 million to assist and address food insecurities in the South Bronx.
A lot of the programs that operate in the Bronx and that you support and have been able to get support for through the city budget, there's an element of trying to do it all with dignity and also with a sensitivity to the dietary needs of the individuals and these families.
We show respect to our families. We show respect by the way we host our events, the way we treat them when they come in, but most importantly, the food that we give them. We don't want to, we try our best when we're giving them produce, that we're giving them fresh produce, not end-of-life produce. We try our best to do it with a smile, and most importantly, we're extremely welcoming. These are our families, these are our constituents, and we have to be our brother's keeper.
This is your home district.
This is my home. I'm born and raised in this area my entire life. It's one of the greatest honors that I have to serve as a council member to a community that I was born and raised in.
In terms of the food insecurity issue, are there signs that you would see walking down these streets that you grew up on and have lived in your whole life of food insecurity where you would recognize it? I mean, because it looks very vibrant. There's a lot of stores here. There's, you're not seeing too many empty storefronts like you do in other neighborhoods.
Yeah. Look, it depends on what part of the district you're walking in. And when you walk into a certain part of the district and you're seeing long lines of particularly seniors, you know that they're waiting online. And if they have a food cart, you know that they're waiting online on a food pantry to get their produce or to get their food for the week. But when you look around and you look at our food options on Southern Boulevard, just look. You have Burger King, you have Popeyes, you have a pizza shop there, you have Domino's. Right. Right around the corner you have a Subway's. There's not many healthy food options for you to shop. When this is all you have, it's in your face in terms of what are your options to eat.
You're gonna grab whatever you can that's close by.
Yeah. And so that affects our health. It affects our, obesity, right? It's big in this community. Having issues with your blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes. A lot of this is contributed to what you consume in your body. So we have the Bruckner Expressway that gets you to anywhere in New York City. And on the other side of the Bruckner, that's Hunts Point.
Right.
And deep in Hunts Point is where we have the world's biggest food markets. But in this plaza here, for years, is where we have our food markets, our farmers market.
Okay.
And so when we're talking about the budget, every year I allocate $150,000 and I give it to a not-for-profit where they give out what's called health bucks. And so you take those health bucks, and each health buck is about $2, and you can go to the farmers market and you can use that as cash to purchase fresh produce, and they give it to you at a discounted rate. Right. And then they go and they redeem those health bucks with the Department of Health, and that's how they get reimbursed.
Right.
But again, this is out of the box thinking to bring resources so that people can go and purchase fresh produce, right?
It's so crazy that it's so close to the market and it's not available.
And it's not available.
Except like this.
Except like this.
Coming up, I'll take you along with me for an exclusive look inside a food program that's serving 11 million meals a year. Welcome back to the special episode of Street Soldiers on location in the South Bronx. We're taking a look at food insecurity and about to show you one of the special solutions here. It's called the New York Common Pantry. In terms of this warehouse, how does it increase your capacity to help people?
So right now, out of our old warehouse, we were only allowed to serve 10,000 people a month. With this warehouse, we're up to 18,500 monthly.
How do you coordinate all of the people that are working and doing these different jobs that need to get done?
So we have a schedule, and we also have our board, which is really, really important to the staff. So this board will tell the staff what trucks they have,
right,
what borough we're in. So if you see today, we were at 7 different mobile locations.
Wow. How do you characterize the need that you see going right now?
It's immense, unfortunately. The need is great. It's usually because most people can't pay their rent. Rent has skyrocketed. We have people who struggle really just to pay for childcare. Childcare, you need a second job essentially just to be able to afford that. Last year we ended up serving over 9 million meals just because of the need. This year we're on trend to serve over 11 million meals, and that's just it's incredible. It's more than during the pandemic. So you can only imagine how much more people are struggling now than they were even at the height of the pandemic.
Jorge, you have a lot of different types of food products here. How do you decide what goes where?
So that really depends on our community partners. So depending on that, we'll compose a package that's specific to that site, but that also meets the nutritional needs of that family member or the household itself. So depending on the items, we have shelf-stable milk, we have canned yams, we have some peas, we have some applesauce as well as sliced apples, all in canned items, and then we have some shelf-stable goods, rice, cereals, and pastas.
Right.
And all those items, depending on the need of the community, sometimes they may not need the canned goods, they may prefer just fresh produce. We'll provide them a fresh produce package instead.
This is the huge walk-in refrigerator at the Bronx warehouse. 40% of the food that goes out to people in need is fresh produce like this. So a lot of this produce is donated straight from the market, the Hunts Point market here.
The apples, potatoes, and onions, the staples, so we call the hard 7, those we purchase, but then we do get a large donation, thankfully, from our partners at the Hunts Point Marketplace. So we're able to actually utilize a lot of the produce and fairly regularly get it out, so that way it's not just kept in here for storage, it's stored here for a day and then it goes out the next day.
That's awesome. The New York Common Pantry has mobile pantries at sites throughout the Bronx too. What they're doing now is putting food items together for a household of 2 and giving it to the pantry to deliver. So Jorge, when you talk about 11 million meals in a year, what exactly does that mean?
So what that means is that we're packing bags usually catered to a household of 1 or 2 individuals in that household. So usually there'll be about 9 meals, up to 18 meals within that single package alone.
Wow.
So it's enough food to sustain somebody for 3 to 4 days within just one single package. So 28 pallets going out every single day, roughly, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little less. That is an incredible amount of food.
Coming up, you'll meet a man who's made it his mission to make sure thousands of people every week here in the Bronx and throughout the city get enough to eat. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Welcome back to the special episode of Street Soldiers on location in the South Bronx. We're here at the Word of Life International Church getting a first-hand look at the amazing work being done by Pastor John Udo Alcan and his teams. Pastor John, so how does the line work? You got a lot of people out here waiting to get food and help from you.
Yes, today is mainly for seniors, people 55 and above, and vets, and people with physical disability. So that's the population we are serving today, every Thursday. And then every Saturday is for the general public. Everyone comes on Saturday. And usually on Saturday, we have maybe like 500 people here with us.
Wow. You have a lot of food. So do people come and they pick up the bags of food, or how does this work here?
Yes, we have workers, we have volunteers that are standing by because we do not bag the food. We don't give people what they do not want. So as they're passing through, if they want apple, we give them apple. If they want onions, we give them onions, potatoes, watermelon.
Why is it so important for you to be doing this in this community?
Yeah, you know, This is the South Bronx.
Right.
And we have a very high rate of people that are living below the poverty level, which means that they are struggling to be able to feed themselves. And also there is limited access to food, most especially nutritious food. So we do this so that we can be able to provide families, the opportunity, to have food on the table.
And have you seen an increase in the need, like over the last years, we've seen the food prices skyrocket?
There's been a very high increase in the population we save, and then also you'll find a lot of them having to come out and stay in the cold for so many hours, because this is the only way that they know that they're going to be able to feed themselves. Coupled with the fact that there's a high population of recent immigrants, as you know, the South Bronx bears the burden of most of the shelters in the city.
Yes.
In this particular district, council district 17, we have almost like 60 shelters.
Yeah.
And most of these shelters, they don't provide food, they just bring them in here.
So is this part of your faith too, putting your faith into action, taking care of people?
That's right. As people of faith, we are Christian based, The gospel is about helping those in need. Our mission is to make sure that no child goes to bed hungry. No senior goes to bed hungry. No member of a community should go to bed hungry. I always say, the only reason you are hungry or you may be hungry in this community is just because you cannot come to us.
Everyone has their own reason for being here.
Yeah, I retired in July, so I'm like on a different budget now, so it helps to feed the family, I share with my neighbors and things. I have like 3 seniors, elderly, that they can't get out, so I try to share with my neighbors.
This is our little warehouse. We need to expand this because we're limited by the food we can receive. But one of the challenges we have is with funding. We don't have the resources to compete with all these major organizations, and yet we are the boots on the ground.
Don't go away. We've got much more of our special On Location in the South Bronx episode for you. Welcome back to this special episode of Street Soldiers On Location in the South Bronx. The Urban Health Plan provides medical and wellness services to the community. Now they're trying to slow the spread of complications from food insecurity. What kind of need do you see from the patients that are coming to you?
We see all types of need. Our nutrition department discovered and identified that food insecurity was a problem way before the pandemic. We were seeing patients for one-to-one counseling, and we were recommending them to make dietary changes, but they just couldn't afford the food. And some of them drastically couldn't even eat anything that day.
Have you seen a dramatic rise in the number of people that need food help?
Yeah, absolutely. There are times where we have to, patients come in, community members come in from the street. There could be 7 to 10 patients a day that we are just scrounging around to get food for them. But especially since the pandemic, it is rose. Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the causes, do you think, of them not having enough to eat?
The cost of food. The cost of food has increased dramatically. And a lot of people lost their jobs over the pandemic and aren't able to get back on their feet. There's a lot of things.
The staff here at Urban Health Plan are preparing food emergency bags for patients who come here for medical and health services and are screened for food insecurity. If they're found to not have enough food, they're given one of these bags right away. Maggie, what kinds of things do you have in these bags?
Sure, here we have shelf-stable milk. You don't need to refrigerate it. It can sit out. We have the toasted oat cereal, so just a store brand of your Cheerios. Peanut butter, a good source of protein, especially for diabetic patients or children as well. We get a lot of families that they can just stick their finger in if they want to, or use a spoon. The packed tuna.
So this is a very conscious and intentional way of choosing the food. So you have the tuna in the packs, so that they don't need to have a can opener because they have no kitchen.
Absolutely, yeah. And the canned peaches, they have the snap top here, so you could just peel it off. So we did go through a lot of cans and a lot of options here with our fellow supermarket to try and choose things that would actually work for them.
Thanks for joining us for this special episode of Street Soldiers on location in the South Bronx as we explore the issue of food insecurity here. You can watch it again on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page and the Fox Local app. Remember, use your mind as your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and food for all.